Hello my beautiful creatives and welcome back to my art channel. My name is Chrissie B and I'm a creativity coach hoping to inspire you to live a more creative life every day. Now we'll be playing in our soul books today and I didn't really have a terribly clear plan about what I wanted to do today, but I do have something that's bugging me in my soul book and I wanted to rectify that today. So I thought that would be a great place to start. And that is every year I use my soul book as a way to tap into what's going on in my head. Now this year I've been doing that a lot, but I've been doing it through strictly art journaling. So basically using my art journaling practice as a way to meditate, and then whatever thoughts come in my mind, I journal those things out. However, there's another way that I really like to do it, and that is through the use of journaling prompts. Now I have got a folder full of journaling prompts that I had just typed up as many as I could find, and I printed them all out and I just keep them with me. And every year I just pull some to put out into my soul book somewhere. Now I don't really have any of these done this year, which kind of weirds me out a little bit, seeing that it's March, almost April, and I really don't have any journaling prompts of any kind in my soul book yet. So let's fix that today. I'm trying to think if I have any. I think maybe, let's see, this could sort of be a journaling prompt. 100 activities I'll do in 2018. I guess that can be a journaling prompt. I think that's pretty much it, to be honest with you. What am I grateful for? This is a journaling prompt, but it's not written anywhere. Yeah, so without further ado, all I've done so far to prep this spread is I have just taken white gesso and spread it all over this journaling spread. I want to make this a background for writing on. So I've let that completely dry. I'm pulling out my Schmincke watercolors here, a large water brush. I'm also going to grab out a water bottle, a spray water bottle. Oops, try not to lose anything. Move everything else out of the way. And I'm going to spray my spread with water. Spray my spread with water. Just kind of let it get nice and juicy. Because I love, my favorite thing about watercolors is watching the watercolors like run and play and mix together and do what it is that watercolor does. Yeah, let's not think too much about it. I'm going to make this one pink to start. I don't have a lot of pinks in this palette. Matter of fact, I see one pink in this palette. So maybe I'll grab another palette out. This is a very easy technique to do. You actually don't even have to prep the page before you put the journal prompt down. Maybe the journal prompt could be on a blank page and then the prompt itself gives you a heads up on what you should do to decorate for the prompt. Maybe instead of writing, see, I like writing. I consider myself to be a writer first before I consider myself to be an artist, just because writing comes so naturally to me. I became an artist because I grew up around artists. There have been creative people in my life for as long as I can remember, and I've always really been intrigued by talent that they had that I did not have. I was a musician, but I was not an artist in the, you know, the painty, colory kind of way. So that always kind of intrigued me, which is why I kind of got into art journaling. But art journaling for me actually came about because I've written for as long as I can remember. I have kept journals for most of my life. I think my first consistent journal I started keeping when I was about 12 years old. My journal started out because I had always felt like, I don't know, I felt like I never fit in. I still feel like I never fit in. I really don't. I'm just odd. And I'm not sure why I'm odd. I kind of am. If I could be normal, I totally would be, but that is not in the cards for me. Normal is not where it is at. So I pulled another palette out. This is a Daniel Smith watercolor palette that I have created. I'm working on creating. It's not full. But I want some more pinks, and I really want some more of these vibrant. I think this is called Opera Pink. Love it. It's gorgeous. Makes me happy. But I just want to have like a base color in the background that I have something I can write on top of. So anyways, I've kept journals for as long as I can remember. And somewhere in my teens, I had started working with the church, my church that I grew up in. My parents were pastors. And one of the things I really liked to do was I liked to put imagery in my journals. Now, this was long before art journaling was ever a thing. And I could not draw if my life depended on it. But one of the things that we had to do back then, which I believe this was probably about the late 80s, early 90s, we didn't really have access to computers like we do now. And I would have to make programs and stuff like that for the church kids, calendars, flyers, and whatnot. We had to do that with like old desktop publishing type things. And I say desktop publishing, but I mean like cut and paste, lining things up with a glue stick kind of desktop publishing. It really was truly doing it by hand. And I always liked having artwork in my work. And one of the things that I always had readily at hand was, I can't remember what they were called. They were called, what are they called? Pop art. They're basically the images that you used to use to basically add illustration to your work without having to actually be an illustrator. And so what I would do is I would take these books that we had copious amounts of, and I would find an image that I really liked, and I would trace it into my Dear Diary kind of a journal. And that's kind of how that all started. And then I started adding magazine images, and you know, that's really how my art journaling kind of came about. Just because I can, I'm going to add some water here, and I'm going to close the book just to smush my pages together. And I see it's bleeding through. That's totally fine. I don't mind that at all. I can bleed through both pages. Don't care. And there. It's kind of messy, kind of something. So I'm going to set this aside and let this dry. So while I let that spread dry, I cut out my journaling prompts. I just used my paper cutter and cut them into strips. If this is overwhelming to you or somehow daunting, one of my recommendations would be to put these into a jar of some sort. And then when you feel like using one to put into your soul book, just pull. So for example, I just pulled one. The holiday traditions I most look forward to. I'd glue that down into my book, and then I would just write in it. Just kind of intuitively, not worrying that there's not a plan. So let me just pull a few. My favorite Sunday ritual. If you can go back in time and change one thing from your past. If you could change one thing about your present life. If you could live anywhere you wanted, where would you live? If you could have dinner with anyone currently alive, who would it be? What book did you read over and over again as a child? If you could meet any fictional character, who would it be? And what holiday traditions am I most looking forward to? Gosh, they seem kind of random, but I'm going to go with it because why not? I'd like to cut all of this excess off. Okay, now that I've got all of those trimmed up, I'm grabbing a glue stick and my glue pad, and I'm going to just adhere those down. All right, now that I've gotten those completely glued down, they're still a little bit wet, I'm sure. Now, what I like to do is I kind of like to do some kind of an underline of some sort, and I habitually use washi tape just because it's super simple and I've got a lot of it. But today I thought I would pull one of my Inktense watercolor pencils. Oh, you know what? I love this deep rose and this thistle. So let's use the deep rose because that's one I saw first, and that's 710, which is one of you two, I think. Yep. And I'm just going to take my Inktense pencil, turn my book here, and I'm just going to kind of you know, same as I always do, a messy kind of line. And I want my messy line to go underneath the entire question or the entire prompt. Now, you're more than welcome to make these up as you go. I do that a lot. Sometimes I feel like a question is running through my mind over and over again, and I want to figure out how to answer it. And I will write that prompt myself. You don't even have to type them up. You can just write them with your own handwriting. I think that if you underline a question, like write it by hand and then underline it, it automatically kind of calls it out as a question. Your questions don't have to go side to side. They can go up and down. That happens sometimes. You also can make questions, maybe they're really big questions. They're not something you can answer really, really easily. Maybe you want to have an entire page dedicated to just that one question, or maybe you want to have a whole spread dedicated to that one question. That's fine too. There's so many different ways you can do this. It really is totally 100% customizable, up to whatever you want. Just do it however you want. And you know, when you finally do come back to, to fill in the prompts, to fill out the questions, you don't have to fill them all at once. You don't have to know all the answer at once. You don't have to do any of this. I mean, this is totally 100% completely and totally up to you. I'm going to use a number 6 watercolor pencil just to activate that. And it just kind of like smudges it out into a nice, bright, crisp, inky line. Which I love that. I love the contrast with my pink background. So that's pretty much how that page is going to look, I think. You could also then go in after the fact and add more to separate your prompt from your answer. These are something I like to do either in bed at nighttime or in front of the television when I'm listening to a movie or something, and I'll just have a pen with me and I'll flip through my book and, select a prompt or two, or however many I'm feeling froggy to fill out, and I will answer the questions. I think I'm going to prep another couple of pages just to make sure that because I've cut all of these prompts out and I do not want to lose them. And they seem to kind of go together. These other ones, they look like they're all like childhood type questions. There's 12 more prompts. So I'm going to prepare 2 more spreads for these. If you want to continue watching, you're more than welcome to, watch over my shoulder and see what I'm going to do. If you would rather stop the video here and see me next time, that's totally fine too. I appreciate you stopping by, whether you watch some of my videos or all of my videos. Yeah, I just hope that I can inspire you to get up, go do something creative, be creative. So I'm going to let this page dry, and then I'm going to be back in a few minutes to do another 2 more spreads. Okay, so now that I've gotten that page completely dry, I'm going to find 2 new spreads. This one here, and I'll do the one right after it as well. And instead of using my watercolors, I'm going to use 3 of my distress paints, my distress stains. I'm going to use 3 cool ones on the first spread and 3 warm ones on the second spread. So I apologize, I don't use these terribly often, so I don't know how these are going to work together, but this is the year of using my stash, so here I go. I'm using cracked pistachio, lucky clover, and peacock feathers, and I'm hoping that the cracked pistachio is the lightest color, because I'm going to do the lightest first, and then a medium, and then the deepest color. And I've never even opened this one before, and sure enough, yay, it's light, so that makes me happy. I just want to make sure that I'm able to actually read my printing, my text over the top of whatever colors I choose. I like these because I'm impatient, and they're so easy to use. They're so quick and easy. Okay, so that is probably a good start for a moment. Let's grab the peacock feather. Again, I don't know exactly how this is going to work together, but we are going to go for it. Get this one to come out. Just kind of put some color down. And then I'm going to use the lucky clover, which thinking it's going to be a little bit darker green, but again, I've never used it before. I actually just opened it, so I think those colors are working really well together, so that makes me happy. That's a pleasant surprise. Sometimes my color combos, scare me a little bit. Okay. So believe it or not, that is going to be the background for that particular page. Okay, so now I'm ready to glue down my journaling prompts. I am going to do 8 again. So 4 on this page, 4 on this page. The next spread that I'm going to do, I'm only going to select 2 for that because the prompts for those I feel are going to take a lot more thought to answer. So let me just take a moment to get all of my journal prompts glued down. Okay, so the way that I spaced these ones out is a little bit different than the way I did the first spread. And the reason for that is because I felt the first 3 questions on each page were going to be super easy to answer, like short. But the last ones on both pages, I really wanted to like really expand on what it was I was thinking for this. And those questions are, what is the most vivid memory of the kitchen in your childhood? That's that one I want to like take some time to like really write out some memories. And then this one, who was your best friend in elementary school? Well, we moved around a lot, so I have a handful of people that I feel like at each stage of growing up, they were my best friends. So I have a few people that I want to not only say who they were, but why they were my best friend, like what we did together, and kind of share stories about them. So I felt like a little bit longer area would be better. So I'm going to flip the page, and again, I'm going to use 3 Distress Stain. I'm using Fossilized Amber, Abandoned Coral, and Carved Pumpkin. I'm going to start with the Abandoned Coral because I think that's the color I want to use the most. You know, the most coverage. Because I think it's going to be pretty. I don't use coral very often. But when Mama gets it in her head that she wants to do something, she does it. Okay, so that was the Abandoned Coral. I'm going to use the Fossilized Amber, and if I remember correctly, this is more of a brownie yellow than I'm used to using, so I'm going to kind of use it in a few different places, but I don't want to use it too much. But I feel like I left enough space for the Carved Pumpkin, which is the nice orange. I love this orange. This is one of my favorite colors. The colors you choose doesn't really matter, I think, because these are truly background. The meat and potatoes of these pages are going to be the answers to your journal prompts, because really this is how you put your soul into your soul book. It's by putting your own memories and thoughts into your soul book. This is one of my favorite ways to use my soul book, which is why it had been bothering me so much that I hadn't actually used them. I hadn't actually put any prompts into my book yet. Now, the 2 prompts I'm going to use here and why I've decided to really let them be the front and center for this whole spread is this page says things I always did with my mom when I was little, and this one says things I always did with my dad when I was small. So I think these are really important just because my mom and dad were such a huge part of my life growing up. And I want to be able to basically commemorate that by giving them some space in my soul book, because I adore my parents. You know, we didn't have the perfect childhood. We had problems just like everyone else did, and my dad and I didn't always get along terribly well, but honestly, my mom and I didn't get along all the time either. My mom died when I was really, really young, and it wasn't until my mom died that my dad and I started to build a relationship together. So, however, there were lots of things, when I look back on my childhood, there were a lot of moments that I remember for both my parents that I really, really loved that we did together. Like times that my parents were just spot on awesome. If Jason and I were ever going to have children, then those were the types of things I wanted to make sure that I passed on to my kids too. And I have awesome memories from both of my parents, even though my childhood with my dad wasn't always easy. I'm sure my childhood with him wasn't always easy either. But, so that is that. I'm going to let that one kind of dry as it's, you know, it's these stains dry so quickly, I'm not quite as concerned about them not staying down. But I want to underline my letters, or my words, like I had done before. Now I have selected 3 different washi tapes. I don't know which one I want to use, that's why I selected 3 of them. I have a couple of pop-ups on my little sentiments. Now I'd like to use thin washi for this. And this one's a little bit thicker than I think I would normally want to use. But I'm gonna try it anyways. Okay, now that I've done it meaning putting the washi down, it's kind of mousy. Not sure I like it too much, but I have 2 more washis, and the idea originally was to like overlap them. So let me pull this one out. It's a blue polka dot, I think. So I don't particularly like it, but I'm gonna leave it. And remember, I have to listen to my own words. The important piece is not the background, it's not how you decorate this page. What's really important is how you answer the questions. I didn't pull my washi before, but I'm gonna do 2 washis. And because this is gonna be the whole spread, I feel like I have more room to play a little bit with my washi. So let's put this one down first. I can do this without tearing my paper. And then I'm gonna, so that was an orange kind of a color, and I'm gonna take a coral because I can and I want to, and I'm going to just kind of put it right underneath the words itself versus all the way across the page. I'm going to also put a little bit at the bottom, although you're not going to see it terribly well. It just makes me happy. That's all. That's all, and that's all that matters. So there you have it. You now have 3 spreads ready for filling in journal prompts. That's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. If you want to have copies of these particular journal prompts, I will go put the list, I will go write these journal prompts out on my website, beautifulcreatives.com. You can, please feel free to take those, put them in a Word, put them in whatever font you want, or whatever size, and then print them off. And please feel free to use those in your personal soul books as well. I hope this gave you some ideas on something that you can do in your own soul book. Now, remember, please don't forget, if you would like to share pictures of your soul book or things that you're doing in your soul book, please feel free to share that over on Instagram with #SoulBookClub, and I will be looking out for those. I love seeing them, they make me super jazzed. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any comments, let me know. Don't forget to thumbs up, subscribe, and share with your friends. My little channel could always use the help, and I am very appreciative of that. Thank you very much. And until next time, bye for now.